Hello, this is Jamie White with Supplier T News, bringing you another podcast. As always, I have with me Ray Hayes. Ray, how's it going?
I'm good, man. How you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. Another day, another podcast.
Flipped it up today, huh?
What?
I say you flipped it up a little bit today.
What do you mean?
You didn't come in with basically your signature move if you were the
Oh,
WWE star. You do the hello hello.
WWE
Kind
star.
of kind of throw it off. Let's try that again. Like rewind this.
Yeah.
Do it
So
again.
anyway, so the reason why we're not doing a live podcast this time, I don't know what happened. YouTube, for whatever reason, when you click on that start streaming part, it just never popped up. So we tried it for about 20 minutes because we usually try to start streaming around 10 minutes before, 5 to 10 minutes before, and it just for whatever reason never popped up. And for the people out there
You
who
know
know
what?
what,
I think I know why, Jamie.
why.
Similar to this podcast, I think the budget may have been cut by
Oh,
the federal government. I
for
mean, you
YouTube.
never know. I mean, yeah. So you had to cut back on some things. It's probably a duplicate. It's probably another way you can get in, but in the way you were doing it, it's probably just a duplicate of the first way to get in. So they had to get rid of it.
That's funny.
Never know.
That might be right, but yeah, I mean, I don't know why the YouTube thing wasn't streaming. You're right, it might be budget cuts, but every
Yeah,
time, yeah,
never know.
every time I click start streaming on my application that I use to stream, I use Open Broadcast software. So every time I again click the start streaming to do it, and yes, the YouTube code is in the settings and everything. I just it picked it up, but the start streaming button just wouldn't start. So whatever. We're just gonna record this and then we'll upload it and we'll go from there. So I apologize for anybody who's watching the live stream and confused as to what's going on. But that being said, and as Ray already alluded to, today we're here to talk about President Trump's budget or the Trump administration's budget that was released last week, where they are essentially just putting. Well, okay, so the budget that they just released basically, talks about how the federal government is going to run their various departments. And with this new budget, the two things that stick out is that there's going to be a huge increase to departments like Defense, Homeland Security, and Veteran Affairs. The reason being, defense, obviously, because we got to make America great again. We got to make America strong again. We have to make America safe again. So that's one of the
Exactly.
things that he ran on. So he's increasing the
Amen.
yep he's increasing the budget for defense. Obvious obviously in an effort to build the wall and to put more people on the Mexican border. He's also increasing funding to the Homeland Security. And then lastly, I honestly think this is the best one, is Veteran Affairs. He's also increasing that a couple of billion to take care of our veterans, which I believe is definitely a something that we can all support. Maybe not the first two, but Veteran Affairs we can definitely support on that. Now the interesting thing about that is as he's increasing defense, homeland security, and veteran affairs, he's essentially cutting everything else. And these are not small cuts. Let me pull up
The
the.
big cuts.
Oh yeah, oh yes, absolutely. Let me go ahead. Let me pull up the USA Today article. And with these cuts, the departments that are affected are Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, Education, Energy, Health and Human Services, HUD or Housing and Urban Development, Interior, Justice, Labor, Department of State, basically, State Department where we do foreign affairs, deal with foreign affairs issues, Transportation, Treasury, EPA, NASA, although NASA's isn't honestly that big, and then also independent agencies, essentially like foreign, where we decide to give foreign aid to international, or we do international aid to foreign countries. I don't know why I was thinking organizations, but foreign countries. So yeah, pretty much everything not named defense was cut. Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep. So we try to do this or not try to do this. That's essentially where we start our conversation at, is everything's cut but defense. Now, on our website, suppliertnews.com, we also give a rundown of the big cuts that were made that affect low income rural areas and minority individuals. And what I was noticing is that the cuts that were made to these departments, a lot of them affect low income minorities in rural areas. So let's start the
And not
conversation.
minority, but it's not just minorities, but non-minorities as well too.
Yep, that's why I said like
I mean,
rural
in
and low
rural,
and low income. Yep, because
yeah,
yeah, they
okay.
don't necessarily have to be minorities either. But let's start the conversation there. So Ray, I know you took a look at this.
Mhm.
What are your just first initial reactions? What were your initial reactions when you saw these huge cuts? Because we're talking billions. I mean cuts.
My first reaction was, like a lot of people, was why? Why are you cutting so many programs? What? Okay, if you're cutting these programs, and then you're saying that, okay, hey, we're going to, these are the programs that pioneered the programs that I'm cutting, and they're going to focus more on these issues. Cool, that's fine and dandy. But now you're saying that, okay, we're going to cut these programs. We're going to take this money and use it toward, one, building a wall, two, defense. Okay, my first reaction to the fact that you're building a wall with this money is basically just ludicrous. I mean, well, how is the wall going to help people who are in need of food, who are in need of housing, and as far as government programs that help them find jobs, and the people who are working in these departments, because a lot of people are going to lose their jobs as well too.
Yep.
How is this going to help them?
Oh
But
yeah.
you're worried about building a wall is not going to help them. A wall is just basically you're making good on your guarantee to build a wall. However, you lied and said that Mexico was going to build this wall. However,
Pay for the wall.
instead,
Pay for the wall.
well, pay for the wall. But the fact that now we're going, basically, the United States is going to pay for the wall, and we're going to cut the budget for these tons of programs and take it toward the wall. Then you have the second issue is as far as defense. Are we preparing for some kind of war? Well, why is so much money going toward defense? Well, what's happening with that? Explain that to us. Now, the thing is, this is a proposed budget. It's not set in stone.
Good point.
But
Very good point.
It's not set in stone. But the thing is, we see Trump's and his administration's thinking process. Okay, if this is the thinking process of this administration, I kind of think we're moving in the wrong path. Granted, yes, I applaud him. Yes, we do need to. Some of these programs, yes.
Oh yeah.
They do need to be cut. They need to be cut.
Yeah,
because yes, they are duplicates. But if you're going to cut them, make sure you're using the funds for good reason. Now, I'm not in the military, nor have I ever been in the military, so I don't fully know what the military needs. So as far as defense, maybe that will be helpful. I don't know.
So
I don't know.
I mean,
but as far as a wall, that's ridiculous, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, okay.
We have people out here, veterans in particular. I mean, yes, they're giving money for the veterans. Veteran affairs. That's cool and dandy. But you have the homeless program, who not only protect just regular citizens, but they protect veterans as well too. You're cutting these programs for a lot of rural and urban low-income families who relied on some of these programs. Granted, I understand we should not rely fully on the government to give us a way to achieve things in life, or as far as eat and have a roof over our head. But sometimes we have to until we can get on our feet. So you're telling these people, hey, we're going to cut these programs and we're going to build a wall. But I thought you was the fact that America was first. It doesn't seem like America's first.
Yep. So
It seems like, go ahead. I'm sorry, but let me get this all across. It doesn't seem like America's first. It seems like, okay, I had to go about pleasing the people who voted for me and build this wall. The people who didn't vote for me or the people who are here struggling and may have voted for me, we'll worry about them later. But for now, let's build this wall. Let's take this money and build a wall. That's ludicrous. But go ahead.
yeah. So you touched on a lot of things. A lot of things to a lot of things. So let's so the Defense Department has said many times that they're underfunded, and that if we went to war today, we would not be ready, because people just aren't trained due to budget cuts the way that they need to be.
Right.
So, based on what I've read and what I've seen, our defense, our Department of Defense, so like Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard, they are underfunded. That's true. Now, what
Okay.
Obama's big reasoning behind the cuts for defense, his reasoning was that war is different now. It's more technology based. So because of that, we don't need as many, boots on the ground. I mean, Obama was not a fan of putting like armies on the ground, boots or armies. Okay, armies on the ground. He was a fan of putting in like strike
Mm-hmm.
forces. That's how
Okay, and
Osama bin Laden.
drone
Yep,
attacks too, right?
drones and strike forces. Oh, yep, that's another piece. But that's how like Osama bin Laden was killed. So he's more. That was more so what he was a big proponent of, was let's put a small team. Let's put our best team, our small team, go in there, collect data, or strike them hard, get them out, and then hit them with drones as we're collecting intel. That was kind of broad strokes, but that was kind of what he did. That's why he cut the budget. But if we ever did a full
Mm-hmm.
scale war, I'm to be completely honest, I'm not convinced that Obama would have been the best president for that situation, because he did cut the budget so high, so hard. But we didn't get any new big wars. Whenever we were hit with a possible war like Ukraine, like Syria, Obama kind of scaled back a little bit because that's not the type of president he was. So yes, our defense,
Okay.
yeah. So the defense does need, or did need, or does need a boost in their spending. As much of a boost as he gave, I don't know. I don't know about that, but that just, I guess, depends on where you sit. So that's essentially what they kind of need the money for, is to train troops and do other things such as buy ammo and whatnot. Buy things that are stuff that you wouldn't think is outdated within the military. So they definitely do need an increase. But the question becomes, as we're increasing their spending, like, what are we cutting? Now let's move over to the other side of it, which is, what are we cutting and reallocating to help increase our defense? Right. I think a really good question, and you asked a lot of questions, but one of the better questions is, what are we preparing for? Why do we need to spend so much money on defense? Are we preparing for war? And that's a good question. It is that we know that Donald Trump has been really big on this whole war on ISIS, and he wants to defeat ISIS, and he wants to, destroy ISIS, which, as we all know, is impossible. But that's what he's doing. That's what his big push is. It's kind of ironic that he ran, so hard on ISIS, but now his biggest issue right now seems to be with North Korea, which, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is Trump. You can't expect anything less from Trump, because that's just how he operates. He says one thing, and then next week we might be in war with Czechoslovakia. You just don't know with Trump. I mean,
Czechoslovakia.
I mean, I'm just throwing a country out there, but you understand in terms of, like, you just don't know with Trump. But
Right.
this budget comes off of his win, and as Mike, and the picture I do want to note is from I think it's Mulvaney. He's actually the budget director, so he's the person who actually put this together. And when asked the question, why did you put the budget together like this? He stated very
Mm-hmm.
simply, it's what the people voted for. Trump ran
It's
on
what the people voted for.
Yep, Trump ran on defense, building a wall, and America first. So jobs. He's created jobs. In order to build the wall, he needs money, so he has to reallocate the money from other departments to defense and homeland security, and he promised to defeat ISIS. So build a bigger army, basically. And he's absolutely correct. That's what people voted on. And so,
True about that.
yeah, and so because of that, this is what we're getting. It's interesting when people. I won't go that route, but it's when people vote for certain things. I always think of things as 100%, right? It's 100% of the pie, right? When somebody says, we need stronger defense, well, that means that he has to increase the defense budget, but that money has to come from somewhere because it's only 100% now. If defense is 30%, he's saying I want to increase it to 50%. Well, that 20% has to come from something. And as we're seeing, and I'm about to list off a couple of the things that he cut off, but like for example, low income home energy assistance, which helps the elderly and low income people pay their heating and power bills. Well, if you want a stronger defense,
that program itself helped. I know. I mean, family members who were helped tremendously by programs like that. As far as them not having the funds to pay their utility bills and they needed help. And these are not people who are able to willingly, as far as, I'm not going to say that. Well, people who are much older and are past the age of going into work every day and constantly, they may be incapable of doing because of disabilities or age. The programs were definitely beneficial to them.
Yep. Well, guess what? If you want to build a wall, if you want a stronger defense, that has to get cut.
Can't worry about that.
Well, yeah, it's
100%. Can't worry about that.
Yeah, it's 100% of the pie. That 3.4 billion has to go to defense now because that's what people voted on. And I think that's people just don't understand that when somebody says things like that, they're like, oh, okay, he's gonna do it, and it's gonna make America great. And it's like, well, no, it's 100%. Like, where do you think that money's coming from? Community development.
I don't think you put two and two together. That's the thing. You don't put two and two together. When it comes time to vote, a lot of people, and me myself sometimes as well, you don't put two and two together. You take a word for as a grain of salt. He says he's going to do this, but is he really going to do this? Oh, like I think some people have that mentality.
I think we all had that mentality. Except for the most just ardent like Trump supporters who were like he's going to do everything. I think 80% of America was like he's probably just going to do A, B, and C. I didn't think he was going to build the wall, and I was 100% wrong on that one. So another thing that you really don't think of. So for example, they're touting the whole that they're trying to hire 500 more people to help patrol the Mexican border.
Right.
Job creation. What they're not telling you is that they're trying to also fire 2,600 people in the EPA because they're trying to drastically reduce the EPA. Jobs, right? Job creation. He's promoting things such as like coal and manufacturing and those jobs, which are great. But guess what's going to suffer? Emerging technologies such as like solar energy, such as wind technology. So if anybody's in those areas of technology, they're about to get killed. So he's creating jobs for those people, but then he's also taking away jobs from other people as well. And in some instances, it's not moving America back, but it is just keeping us stable. I was thinking about this the other day, and I think Trump's presidency is one of those. His mindset is one of those things where like it's gonna be great for like 20 years, but then after that, like America's gonna be. This has the potential of kind of holding us back a little bit.
Especially when it comes to solar energy.
Yeah, I mean just
and climate change initiatives.
Yeah, I mean just you need alternative fuel sources. Like that,
and
that's true.
Let me say this: there's a video I recently saw about the Netherlands and how they have basically a city where you really don't drive a car. It's all built on riding a bicycle, and how they have so many electricity. You know, the electricity stops for cars where they can charge their car up. They have so many of those because they're trying to cut back on diesel fuel and gasoline. We, on the other hand, when Trump, when he sat down, when he recently had a can't think about it, I'm sorry, lost train of thought. The press conference, well, it wasn't a press conference, as far as I think it was in Detroit or in Michigan. He sat down and he talked about
Oh,
the
the
fact
auto
that
fuel economy.
he's going, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. As far as like, okay, we're going to give you the money, we want you to build more cars and basically pollute the air with more gasoline and diesel. And I mean, yes, it's going to create more jobs, but you have to think about the effects it's putting on the climate.
Yeah, we actually.
No, I mean, I'm not saying it. Go ahead.
Yeah, because that's not how that happened. In terms of that's so the issue with that meeting was they were talking about fuel economy. So basically, how the Obama administration before they left, they passed certain requirements for how like cars need to go from, I think it's around 35, 36 miles per gallon to, he wants them to hit like 50 miles per gallon.
Mm-hmm.
So that, because the thought process there is the more miles that a car can go, like the less emissions and, the more safer it'll be for the climate. Actually,
right.
Yeah, Trump hasn't made a decision on if he wants to keep that or not.
But I'm just saying off his words, as far as him saying, okay, we need to do this. Now, they may not have been a guarantee. As far as the final
exactly?
Decision.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
As far as building more fuel-efficient vehicles. Instead of worrying about building more fuel-efficient vehicles, we need to worry about hybrids or electric vehicles. And if you're cutting these programs or the department, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Okay, I get you. Yep, that's right. So, like, for example, the EPA helps with creating those type of requirements, not just in
Correct.
automotive, but like in other fields, specifically like I guess manufacturing is automotive too, but yeah, I completely agree. Like we're going away from, emerging technologies, which is the future, and that's really what we need to be looking at here. And whether you're a climate change denier or a believer, the simple fact is there's only a certain amount of coal that we have in the world. Like that's going to end eventually. So putting more resources into like emerging technologies has to be a necessity. And and who knows, maybe we're just speaking out of turn here, and Trump will surprise us and then just go completely all in with like emerging fuel sources. Maybe we're 100% wrong, but as of right now, like you said, the trend is, and based off of how he's cutting things like the EPA, that's a huge.
He's the director of the EPA, sued the EPA.
Yep. So that's a huge, not good sign that he's going to be looking at alternative fuel sources.
No, at all.
So, yeah, you're right about that. But let's go ahead and let's look at a couple more of these programs, because he's proposing to cut a lot here. And again, like Ray said, this is the first proposal, so this isn't going to be the finalized budget. But even with that being said, there are some things that are still alarming. For example, Community Development Block Grant Program, right? He's going to cut $3 billion for that. Now, this program has been around for over 40 years. Basically, total over $150 billion in grants for local communities. Just for basically funding sources, opportunities. But his reasoning behind that is the program is not well targeted to the poorest populations and has not demonstrated results. Now, let's say that that's true. If that's true, why are you still just completely cutting $3 billion? Why aren't you trying to find ways to make the program better?
That's the thing. You're cutting the money and getting rid of them. Like you said, why not fix it?
Yeah. Okay, I thought you had more to say there.
No, I'm sorry. No. Oh, my bad. I just
Yeah.
cut real short and quick.
No,
I got you.
no, but yeah, you're 100% correct. So if you don't think, I mean, he's all about making things better. If he's all about making things better, why is he cutting this and then just completely like,
Oh,
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 it's not helping poor people. Forget it. Let's forget about doing it completely. Like, come on.
well, why don't you let Ben Carson, since HUD determines the amount each grant gets, why don't you let Ben Carson figure out a way to work with the program and try to fix the program? If you have you have faith in this man, let him figure out a way to influence the program and get the program back and running on an efficient level.
I don't know, man. It might be, the plan for the administration to, if it doesn't work, just cut it. Uh, that might be the plan.
Okay, but then we go back to the programs who pioneered the the community development and block grant program. Okay, I think that's HUD. HUD would cover all this then now. So will you put all your resources into making sure HUD goes about answering the issues of the people who were taking advantage of this program and helping them?
Well, remember we just said
Which
it.
you
If
enforce?
they don't think it works, they're just gonna cut it.
Yeah, but you still have HUD who's going to be helping. Let's say, well, I don't know. You're right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, would HUD still offer grants similar to the community development grant?
Maybe, but I mean, similar is such a broad term here. Yeah, I mean,
Similar,
because
okay. That's helping the same people who benefited from the program currently,
I
who are
mean,
currently benefited from the program. Will they be able to apply or have an opportunity to
apply for other programs
attain
similar. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's similar.
I absolutely believe that. I mean, there's just going to be $3 billion less of an opportunity for people to do it. But yeah,
But I don't think I don't think the fact. That's not even think. I don't think. Well, that's not even think. I can't even say that. You don't even care about those people then. Wouldn't you agree that? I mean, it's kind of like,
I
all right,
can't.
screw it. They don't have.
I can't say who he cares about. But what I can say is that if he thinks that this is an ineffective program, they need to find ways to make it effective instead of just simply cutting $3 billion off when they know that there's people that need help.
Who are benefiting.
Yeah, that they need help with that. But let's look at a couple other ones. I don't want to get caught up in just that one. That's one of the
Go
bigger
ahead.
ones. But another one that they're talking about here is 21st Century Community Learning Centers programs. So it's basically it supports before and after school and summer programs. 1.2 billion, completely cutting it because they're saying the program lacks strong evidence of meeting its objectives, such as improving student achievement. Now, obviously, that targets, honestly, let's be honest here, lower income families because maybe your parents have to work have to work longer hours, and without these after school programs, you're from Chicago, I'm from Detroit, like this is probably not what you want to do. You got a lot more
Yeah,
kids with less places to go than they already have, which isn't that many in the first
exactly.
place. Uh,
When you talk about the violence in the communities, in the urban communities that's taking place, now they don't have anything. I mean, they had a program where they can go to after school, but if you cut the funds, what if that fund affects a specific program in those communities, and now they have no place to go? And you think crime will still rise even more? Or you have children who are just left out to fend for themselves? Now, these are not adults, these are children. And you're so quick to talk about, we're going to bring in the feds into particularly Chicago. But what about the programs in Memphis, Tennessee, who are having experiencing a lot of violence, or Flint or Detroit? What about those programs? You can't. You have to stop. Okay, you talk about violence and violence needs to be fixed, but then you cut a program that could have curbed violence in the urban communities. What's going on here?
Man, defense. That's what's going on. Let's because there's a couple more. I mean,
All right.
yeah, there's a couple more. I want to talk. I want to just highlight it.
I'm gonna shut up.
And then, no,
I'm shut
it's
up.
fine. But just a couple more I want to highlight, and then we can definitely like really go into it. But another one I want to talk about is for rural communities. So water and wastewater loan and grant program. It's about 500 million that's going to get cut. It's for rural communities that can be to help them be served better by the private sector for private sector financing. It was
Mm-hmm.
provided for programs such as like the EPA for rural water infrastructure. So that's gone. Sorry, not it's not funny, but it's just the EPA, just things you don't realize the EPA does for rural communities who by and large voted for Trump. So now their investment in rural water infrastructure is just gone. So if you needed water and you didn't like the EPA,
Yeah,
well,
sure.
hey. Anyway, advanced research projects. We're talking about alternative energy research programs. So this one cuts an alternative energy research program. Now this one was more so funding projects that the private sector would not. So if the private sector doesn't think that there's any money to be made in it, the government would fund projects to the tune of about 380 million. So that's gone now. There's a couple other ones, such as let me see if I can find one more. Oh, and then lastly, and the big and not too big, but one of the bigger ones is foreign aid. So, for example, the African Development Foundation, 26 million, just a foreign aid agency focusing on economic development in Africa. That's gone, as well as funding to things such as like PBS, Institute of Museums and Libraries, U.S. Internal Council of Homelessness. They're all pretty much gone. So, or not pretty much, they are gone in this budget. So when, since we've gone through that, Congress has a lot of negotiating to do with this. He's cutting everything that doesn't have to do with defense.
Okay.
I mean, this is so there's a lot of criticism that can be made here, but let's look at some of the positives, right? Outside of the veteran affairs. So, or maybe not positives, but some of the possible positives for these cuts.
Okay.
Which is
Okay.
what he's trying to do, and what it seems like he's trying to do is cut. Well, actually, not cut spending. He's just reallocating spending because nothing. Let's make that clear. Nothing is cut here. No conservative can come out here and say, "Well, he's cutting all those because he's trying to lower, the budget, and make the government small." No, he's not. Government will stay the same in terms of size. He's just reallocating funds, so he's not cutting the budget. But what it does seem as if he's doing is he's making states take a bigger role in the economic development of their own state. And what Trump is trying to do is just essentially provide that overall defense/security portion for the government. So if you're a state that gets big funding opportunities from the federal government, what Trump is essentially saying is that's not going to happen anymore. And I'm trying to look at this from the positive, but the thing about the federal government is there's a place for the government, and it seems as if Trump may be treating the government like a business, right? Because helping low-income people doesn't really make you money.
No.
Supporting after-school programs.
They don't.
Doesn't really
make you money.
Yeah, well, can you directly tie after-school programs with student achievement? Not really.
No. I mean, to a degree you could, because
not really.
What are they doing? I mean, as far as, okay, let's say this. Let's put an example out there. Okay, if a kid is having troubles in the household, when they come home, they have to deal with mama or the dad's arguing and fussing, or they don't have much help when they come home, whether their parents may be working late nights. But at the school program, you have a tutor. You can tie that along as far as education, because the tutor is helping you achieve the knowledge you're not getting in the classroom, the knowledge you're not going to get at home. So, hey, we're going to give it to you at that school program. Well, and possibly we can introduce you to new avenues in the educational system as far as, okay,
So
we
let's
can help you build STEM. I mean, well, STEM, drone
yeah. So
project or
so
Lego project or something like
let's
that.
be fair, Ray. Let's be fair. That program just got cut 1.2 billion. Let's be honest here. That 1.2 billion dollar program, even with that a billion, that couldn't afford these after school programs to help these kids make drones. Right? Couldn't afford these programs to, heck, have tutors, reliable tutors each and every day. You
Yeah,
know,
not each and every day, but sometimes.
yeah, sometimes, but I think, and let's be reasonable about this. What we're getting here is before and after school programs. It's just a safe space for people to be, if their
Yeah,
parents are, yeah, and that's essentially what it is. And more money hasn't been allocated to these programs, so that because that's what needs to happen. But we're not paying
I was
enough
being
for
a
that.
skeptic.
Yeah. Like it's if we're being reasonable here, then that's not what
Yeah,
these
I see what you're
these
saying.
programs are getting, and that's why you can't directly tie this to achievement because that's what they should be getting, but that's not what they're getting. So yeah, man, it's unfortunate here, but this is what it seems that Trump's doing for the large part, and we'll see what happens with negotiations. But he's kind of treating this like a business. This is his first proposal. Let's cut anything that is duplicative, even if it's helping people out. Because I mean, with these, like, regardless, whoever's listening, like, regardless of what they're saying, you can justify any cut in the federal government. It's honestly not that hard. So, um, so he's just cutting these programs. Just looked at a bunch of programs and said, how many people is it helping? How many people? How much money is
Hmm.
it making us? Are we supporting any businesses? Nope. Okay, well, cut it. What does this do? Are we making any money? Is this positively affecting, the government? Oh, it's not. Oh, it's not. Okay, well, just cut it. Foreign aid to Africa and Caribbean and South American countries. Is it positively affecting us? Nope. All right, cut it. And that's essentially what we're doing. But that's a terrible way to look at things. I mean, there's a lot of examples. For example, like China and their investment with Africa. I mean, at this point in time, like China just essentially has first dibs in whatever comes out of Africa. Um,
Yeah, that's
and
it.
and they're eating very well off of that. So
Man, taking all the
um,
natural resources that the
yeah,
Africa has on.
yeah, as well as investing in like they have a really big alternative energy. I think it's wind. I think they're doing wind right now. Uh, yeah, I think it's either wind or solar. Where they're really you're seeing a lot of technology come out of Africa. With it's either one, I can't remember either one, but and the people who are really benefiting from that currently is China. But we're not investing in this, and that's why I'm saying like this is fine for 20 years, but after 20 years, like we're gonna be way behind if this is what we're gonna move forward with. Um, and it's really unfortunate, and it's really sad that people can't see that far. Now, I'm the biggest supporter of anything when it comes to like shrinking the government, but I'm not in favor of reallocating funds to other programs that could still be beneficial to our country. Like low income home energy assistance program. If you want to cut it, okay, fine, but 3.4 billion, cut off 3.4 billion, really? I don't think we need to cut off that much. We want to take a hard look at it and see where's the wasteful spending at, and then it turns out that 500 million is being spent on crap, something like that. We want to cut it down to 2.9 billion. Okay, I'm good with that.
I agree.
Looking at the which I do think you can look at every program in the government and you can find wasteful spending in every department. And this might be a little callous of me, but it's also very true. If you want to look at people's positions, and if you're finding out that 50 people are doing the same job that one person can do, nothing personal, that's going to save funds as well. Hey, you know, you do what you got to do. I'm in support of that. But these just ridiculously huge cuts and the reallocating it to a wall, no. I'm not in support of this. And I don't think anybody should be in support of this. Well, unless you're Donald Trump. But again, this is just the first take. We'll see what happens when they do negotiations. This may be very similar to their healthcare bill, which, according to Trump, now has support of all the conservatives, in Congress. So if that's true, that healthcare bill will be passed, and maybe he'll do the same thing with this. This is just this is starting bid, and then he'll make adjustments as we go through. So those,
I mean, like you said, the thing is, make adjustments and let's get it right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like you said, if you're gonna build a wall, don't build a wall. We can't do anything about that.
Don't build a wall. Man, like we
can't do nothing about that.
We just don't need the wall. Like we just don't need it. This is ridiculous.
But I mean that's not everybody doesn't agree with that, Jamie. Everybody doesn't agree with that.
You know what? You're right.
But at the end of the day, you told me one thing. I mean, El Chapo, what did he do? he built a tunnel. I'm not advocating anybody build a tunnel or anything. I'm just saying he built a tunnel. So there's ways to get under the wall. And there'll still be ways to get in the USA.
Illegally.
And illegally and get past that wall. So at the end of the day, it'll be a nice wall. I mean, similar to a lot of the Trump towers.
Wall. It'll be a lovely wall.
It'll be a huge,
beautiful wall.
Huge,
huge.
It's not. I mean, it's not to make it. It's not to make it like minimize it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is. We can't do anything about it.
I mean,
but at the same time, I hope that when this bill goes through Congress and they vote on it and all that, President Trump and his administration comes back with something better than the second travel ban. I hope they come out with something a little different than that. I don't come back with a few changes, but not really real changes.
Yeah, I gotta talk about. I don't get this. I really don't. Like the immigrations again. I say this all the time. Immigration's at a 43-year low, and we're building a wall. Like Muslim travel ban. What is it? Of the countries that he's trying to ban, none of them have resulted in the deaths of any Americans, versus like a Saudi Arabia. But he's still trying to push this Muslim ban. I don't. What's so frustrating?
Saudi Arabia wasn't added to the list.
No, they were not.
So I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because terrorists aren't that smart, right? Terrorists won't go from Somalia to Saudi Arabia and then hop on a plane and come to America. Terrorists just don't do that. They're just
not really. I never heard anybody doing it.
They're not that smart. They're not. They don't have those type of connections at all. Nope. None at all. I mean, they're not funded. They're not well-funded terrorist organizations. Nope. They just stay in Somalia, and then they try to hop on a plane. That's what they do. So
nope.
So that's why we have to ban. Come on, like it's just so frustrating. We're building a high wall for a country that we know uses tunnels. This is ridiculous. Like, welcome to America. Welcome to Trump. Welcome to Trump's America. Oh man, I can't believe this. Like,
you better believe it, man.
Alternative facts. Alternative facts. So yeah, that's essentially what we're doing right now. This is America, making America great again, and that's essentially what we're pushing for. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, the budget comes together much better than what's being thrown at us right now. Nobody's first budget goes through completely. So not even Obama's. So I wouldn't put too much stock in that. But this first go around is completely terrible, and hopefully they'll come back with something better. So anything else you want to say, Ray?
like you said, I mean, hopefully it comes back with something better, but I think it's going to be a long fight to get this budget straightened as far as it passing. I mean, I just, I don't know. I don't know. And the fact that it's hurting, it's not hurting them just yet, but it's putting everybody in a loophole. It's kind of like you're on edge because you don't know what's going to happen. Will I be employed tomorrow, the next day? Like, what's going to happen?
Well, we know the EPA people won't. That's a fact. They're gone.
The EPA office may be gone soon. I mean, you never know.
I don't think they'll get rid of the EPA office, but because at the very least, it has to be one person there, and that's Scott Pruitt. So at the very least,
I'm stretching it a little.
No,
bit.
I get what
I'm stretching a lot.
I get what you're saying.
I'm saying that, but I don't know what's going on, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So, but that's pretty much our thoughts on the budget. And
real quick, we do have some good news though to announce as far as Medium provided us with some good news. I don't know if you want to.
We could do that. I was actually
about it.
I was actually going to do that in a separate video.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We'll do that later then. But just check it out. Check it out later.
If anybody stuck with us this far, then yeah, we might as well say it. So we actually were just named one of the top writers in diversity for Medium. Medium is an online news publication. So
we gotta get some sound effects to the podcast, bro.
one day. So essentially, what that means is, if you search the tag diversity, we will pop up as one of the top writers for that news outlet. So yep, like Ray said, we're pretty proud of that.
Definitely.
Hopefully, we can get to be one of the big ones in other parts, such as small business. Just anything, politics, government, budgets, technology, whatever. We want to be top writers in all of them. So we appreciate, the support of everybody, listeners, viewers, just people on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, just all of our followers, all of our supporters. It's crazy how big we've gotten. We just continue to grow. So I appreciate the support from everybody. We've got some even more amazing things coming down the pipeline in the next couple of weeks. I got partnerships and just a lot more interviews and just discussions with corporations, other organizations that we have coming. And again, just continue the support. We really appreciate it. And thanks. So that's us. Thanks for the support and tune in next week. We'll be right back at you again with another podcast. So have a good one.